This is Jeff here with co-host Chip, tuning in from an undisclosed location. Chip, it's awesome to see you on. Chip, I'll tell you what, I don't buy crypto typically, but when I do, it's XRP. You know what, Chip? We all get excited about the bull market, the bear markets. Some are buying and selling like champs. Others are looking for the high points to buy and the low points to sell. The question is always, which asset do you buy? When do you buy it? Is it XRP? Is it Bitcoin? Is it ETH? Is it XDC? Is it XLM? You know what? There's fans all over the world shouting out their favorite, voicing their opinions on social media. There's maxis all over the place. It's a real roller coaster. But hey, you know what, Chip? It's our roller coaster and we love it.
And let's ride it. You ready to ride this puppy and get it going? Let's go.
I'm ready to go.
Let's do this.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome. And you drinking a little cup of coffee there. He's got the coffee ready to go. Jeff, look at that. I'm making sure the screen. Yeah, welcome to On the Chain, everybody. Guys, while you're here, do me a favor. If you want more content like this, what kind of content are we doing? We're doing all kinds of blockchain content like this, like that opening, everything we're going to talk about today. But go ahead, like, subscribe, unsubscribe, like. And also, if you could, shout out where you're from. If you're watching on the replay, put it in the comments. Jeff and I read every single comment, good, bad, indifferent. We love them all, and we thank you guys for it. So, Jeff, there's a lot going on in the space.
Man, every day, it's crazy.
With this, I mean, it's like tense knuckles with everything. You know, Luna kicked it off with the major crash. We got BlockFi going on. We have Celsius happening. And then there's always a news story that is either this is happening or that's happening. A source close to the matter said, but there hasn't been anybody that's really stepped out and said, well, this is exactly what's going on. And also with Ripple, there's a lot going on too. I mean, a lot of cool stuff. What's going on? For example, David Schwartz, Schwartzy, at Joel Katz on Twitter, if you know, revealed his. This is an old story, but it kind of popped up again. It was I was actually looking for it. Let me see this, and it was kind of cool because it kind of was one of these stories. Somebody retweeted it or tweeted it or did something like that. But I was like, I don't know. Somehow I missed this. Let's just jump into this right here, and this was it here. So XRP, Johnny had said, this is back in November 24th of 2020, said, hey, so come on, David, how much do you have? And Schwartz chimed in and said, let's just say more than 1 million and less than 10 million. Okay, so more than 1 million could be 1,000,001.
Less than 10.
But less than 10. So 4 million, 3 million, it's a pretty solid range right there. I mean, it's a pretty decent
Either
range.
way, that's a, you know, it's interesting that he actually answered, that he even answered it, you know, at all, to come out like that. So he's sitting on a pile of XRP. And could you imagine when that thing scaled up to that $3 plus mark, you know, and now it's scaled all the way back again, you know, what that portfolio must look like.
Oh, exactly. And it's so funny. Like Moonchaser said, our benevolent whale. Oh, hello there. Moonchaser. So it's funny, some of the XRP Babs. We haven't seen XRP Babs in a while. It used to be in the chat all the time. Well, it's been a pleasure knowing you. Remember, XRP Babs was like really early in the OTC. So I haven't even seen her around Twitter. I haven't seen her, you know, even around Twitter. But
people have to take a break sometimes.
Well, she's also busy too. She's a doctor too. So I mean, she got a lot going on, right?
Those pesky little job things.
Yeah, those little things here. So, you know, it's what do we have in here? Jim D's in here. Yeah, look at this. Got both of us this morning. That's right, Jim D. We have Avi. Look at Avi Services here coming in from Ohio.
I was in
my city is gone.
I was in Ohio yesterday, matter of fact.
How about that, Jeff?
How about that?
How about PA? How about Hatboro, PA right there? Yeah, so it's just great to see where people are coming in from. How about Dos Equis? A little early for Dos Equis, but okay, all right.
Not when you're in Cyprus.
Oh, Cyprus, there you go. And you remember Cyprus, wasn't it Cyprus back in 2013 or 2014 that really gave Bitcoin its first that bank run that happened and everybody threw their money into Bitcoin? Kind of pumped the price a little bit too.
Yeah, oh yeah, a lot of good things happen.
We have Susan Chippy It's a chipper morning there. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. A little dog there.
Yep.
So
All
it's
right,
good to
so
see everybody in here. Look at this.
Michigan. American
Michigan.
turf in Michigan. Man.
Michigan. Of course, Jeff and I have ties to Michigan. We're there, but not at the same time.
And we got Tom over in Belfast. How about that?
It's beautiful. No, talk about Belfast. That's somewhere I'd like to be on this fine morning. The smell of the the outdoors and the greenery. It's just phenomenal.
The
Been to
Guinness and the
Belfast, Jeff.
Jameson. It's perfect.
Get some Jameson too. I've been to Belfast. Man, I took a taxi drive there, and I don't know. I'm pretty good with the accent, but I didn't know one thing the guy said. I was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, yeah, right. But I don't know if he was from the area. And I know I just don't know. It's just I was having a difficult time with that, Jeff. But moving right along here, we have.
What else do we have? How do you follow up that story with David Schwartz?
Well, that was
on at least $1 million. How do we follow up on that?
Well, we don't know. That was in 2020. We don't know because we also know that he had a lot of Ethereum and he decided to get solar panels.
But they're pretty fancy solar panels. Some
pretty fancy solar panels on the top of his house. And then we found out later that, that would have been worth when ETH hit its high of 4,600, that would have been worth like $80 million. So, hey, right. I mean, and these stories, they don't stop. Even saw a story about XRP Rose, who's been in the community forever, very knowledgeable, and had accidentally sent a payment to a scammer about a contest she won. This person changed their thing, impersonated them. It's all seemed good, and then she realized, no, that wasn't the same person, and it happens.
There's a lot of it, man. There's a lot of the scams that go around, and it's one thing we have to watch out for the scammers, but then how about the big rug pulls, as we've seen in the past with some of the big companies too, like BitConnect. We like playing that one. Yeah, but that's a lot of people got caught up in that in the early days too.
Yeah, and it's quite honestly, crazy. It's just it's crazy and sad. And but here, let's look at this here. So a lot going on with Ripple. This one right here, and you know what? I have to say, I really like this. I'm not much of an emoji guy, but this speaker icon, I don't see that used much. Subtle gray, I like it a lot. Introducing Clio version 1.0. Now, this is an XRP Ledger API server, and the purpose is to enhance throughput for API requests, reduce the memory usage, lower storage overhead, and enable easier horizontal scaling. Review the documentation to run a Clio server. So this is kind of good. I mean, the whole point of this is to reduce that load and the memory if you're running a regular if you're running Ripple on a server. And so this here, let me see, do I have the actual?
That's pretty cool. It's really cool, man. API server.
Well, it's good to have, they get into a little bit more specifics here. So you basically reduce the load on a Ripple server. Ripple is the software that runs the XRPL. And we know from a story earlier we did that finally has migrated from the GitHub account of Ripple over to the XRPL Foundation, which is great, because as it should be. And it's still going to be, it's open source, and it's going to be maintained both by devs in Ripple and outside devs as well. And the Clio server does not connect to the peer-to-peer network. It uses gRPC to get validated data from one or more trusted Ripple servers that's connected to the P2P network. And again, lower. Go ahead. Oh,
check that out. From Iran, man. Check that out.
Iran is in the house. Nice.
And we got Iran people. Huh? What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Iran just got rid of I think they were having some issues with some of the Bitcoin miners over there, if I read correct, if my memory serves. But God, great to have you here from Iran.
Yeah, it's awesome. We got Scotland in here too.
God, do I love Scotland, Jeff?
Scotland's awesome. Scotland's a lot of fun.
I mean, you got Kentucky, you've got your bourbon, but you go to Scotland and you have your scotch, and wonderful, incredible people there. Great pubs, and great distilleries.
They had a lot of fun over there.
Yeah, fantastic. Good castles too.
Yep. We're in, you can never say it right, but Edinburgh. And then
I never say it right, Edinburgh.
But they have the Arthur's Seat, which is a mountain right kind of in the middle of town there. It's a cool mountain to hike up.
Yeah, right on.
Views.
Lower memory usage, storage overhead. Uses Cassandra as a database, and horizontal scaling. Multiple Clio servers can have access to the same data set, enables you to get a highly available cluster of Clio servers.
What does
And
all
then
that mean, Chip? What does that mean in English?
well, the horizontal scaling is a little bit. I mean, it's a performance. It's more about based around performance because the multiple Clio servers have access to the same data, versus like a peer-to-peer, which is like a movement between 1 and 2.
Right.
This one allows, because the whole idea is that it's taken a lot of the overhead off of the actual server, because it has access to all the XRPL data sets and all of the API, all the requests via an API. And that's also higher throughput for API requests. So the Clio server extracts validated data from one or more trusted Rippled servers, and then it stores the data efficiently. What they've done is they've effectively just created a brand new way to extract the load and use lower message. It's more efficient. So pretty cool.
More efficiency. That's what's amazing with this, protocol. When we look at the XRPL and we look at what is possible, and then you look at like with Ethereum, and they're still working on, Ethereum 2.0, right? And it's what are we, 12 years in the rollout of 2.0?
I don't know if we're that
point?
far, but it seems like it though.
We're at least 6 years.
Yeah, it surely seems like it. Like right there, there's OG right there. Liz Taylor, thank you for that.
What is up,
Coffee
Liz?
for
Thank
Chip
you
and
for that.
Jeff. We appreciate that. Thank you, Liz.
Dude, we got Cape Town in the house.
It's amazing. I love our global audience because, and you guys, we love the support too, because we got that pesky SEC over here always.
That's right.
Messing
They're gonna
stuff
get
up.
smacked down pretty soon. But here's Richard. Edinburgh.
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 Something like that. Edinburgh.
Even if we're reading it like that, we're probably still not saying it right.
It's not right. Well, you got to emphasize the Edinburgh. It's like the Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
There you go. There you go.
Man.
Yeah, I love the Scottish accent too, man. It's fantastic. It's probably one of my favorites of all.
It's great.
Scottish
so we got
accent.
Alchemist here. Turns out that big government, FDIC government guarantee deposit means something.
It does when you think about. That's a good point. You know what? You can criticize all you want about banks and everything, but that FDIC, guaranteed up to $250,000 in the U.S.
The
federal. Well, so we're told, Jeff. I haven't seen anybody really. We haven't really seen it gone south yet, where someone's like, "I have a claim," and I always thought to myself, "Okay, suppose you have $4 million, $5 million. You don't put $5 million in one bank. You spread it across. If you have fiat, right? If you don't have it in something like crypto, or if you don't have it, that's another reason potentially to have a stable coin like USDC, is you could keep it on your private wallet, and if you lose the wallet, shame on you. But you're not relying on a bank, but you would have to put it in 5 different bank accounts or 5 different banks, or just for that 1 million.
250,000. Yeah, 250,000 insured. So you have to spread
accounts.
It out. Anything above that, but I would like to find out and talk to someone. Has anyone ever had to experience filing the claim under FDIC, and to see whether or not they were first in line or they last in line? Because there's a lot of other, like in bankruptcies and things like that, big corporation, you're probably last in line, to collect your money. There's a lot of, a lot of things going on until they, get to the bottom of the heap there. So I would really be interesting to see what that actually looks like in reality. But
okay,
to that point,
there's Liverpool right there, home of the Beatles. Echo and the Bunnymen are also from Liverpool. Liverpudlians love Liverpool too. That's someplace I haven't actually been over there. Sorry about that.
Went to click this. Voyager is only the latest. It's devastating all the crypto space. There's a lot going on right now, and we have to look. There's power plays that are happening. In the best of times, everybody's happy. And sometimes the balance sheets don't get looked at. The same thing happened though during the .com boom. There was a lot of crash and burn that happened in this space as well, and there was a lot of investment in the .com era that just evaporated into nothing. And so we're seeing the exact same type of consolidation happening right now during the downturn. But it's interesting. Why is this downturn different than a previous downturn. What do you think, Chip?
Well, before you get into that, but Jim D is
So-
saying this. Check this out. Voyager is FDIC, but they would not even let him log in yesterday to look at his balance, and he wanted to check to make sure he didn't have any dust laying around. So that's a really interesting to see that. I mean, what the heck? I mean, my goodness. That's pretty messed up. But to get to your question, Jeff, what was your question? It was only 30 seconds ago. See, this is great. I love when we do this to each other. Like, I don't remember my question was. He goes, "What do you think, Jeff?" That's it.
It's already
I
too
don't
late. Big shout out to Susie. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Have an awesome, awesome day.
Thank you for that,
Right.
Susie. Biggest fan.
Yep. And we
So,
got Sarasota
one thing
in the
I want to
house.
throw up. I want to throw this up here real quick here, Jeff, just because this was Schwartz. Basically said he was excited to announce the release of Clio 1.0, which significantly improves the scalability, the access of the XRPL data. Doesn't matter how quickly and cheaply the ledger can reach finality, if you can't support massive numbers from queries from wallets, exchanges, and explorers. So, it's the scalability is really key here. And, it's kind of interesting, Jeff. It's like, what is Ripple doing? What is their concern that they're worried that they want to make sure the scale is available? Interesting. They want to make sure, it's like, let me see. They want to make sure the scale is available. So they're already looking down the road. Is there a reason they need to scale it? I mean, obviously they want, because he said it doesn't matter how quickly and cheaply the ledger can reach finality. It's all about supporting the massive number of queries, not only from wallets, but exchanges and explorers. So that's pretty interesting.
That's right. Yep. So here's Michael was saying, not long left before we're buying coins of the bank, and the coins on our ledger. The banks will say, sorry, you didn't buy them from us. You have to sell them back to where you bought them from. So here's an interesting point. As we start migrating into the digital asset space, and this conversation over CBDCs and a lot of tension. It's interesting too, because we looked at some of these larger financial institutions and said, why are they sitting on the sidelines? Well, why aren't they getting in? But maybe they're just buying their time. They're sitting on their fat portfolios and they're watching this crypto space kind of churn and burn, based on experience from the .com era too. Yes, many jumped in and many sat on the sidelines and started picking up the pieces. And there were a lot of fire sales going on where they could just get things for cheap. And now we're seeing a lot of conversation about that, like with BlockFi, and some others. And Chip, you and I were talking about FTX earlier. That FTX seemed, they just kind of looks like he just appeared out of nowhere. All of a sudden sitting on a fat stack of money to be, investing all over the place. Did he do things right? Is he backed by, is there government backing? Is there financial institution backing in FTX? But FTX is already in the crypto space. We're seeing some institutions that are looking at BlockFi and Celsius and others, looking for a, big play here. What do you think? Is this the time where big institutions start getting in?
I think so, but it's interesting that you made the prediction probably about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, where you raised the point: is it going to be banks that will acquire exchanges, or exchanges that will acquire the banks, or one of the, or kind of a little bit of both? And now we see that FTX is making a play for Robinhood. So you have that's that. Yeah, right. Another one. And you'll probably start seeing the consolidation of some of these other things being, and I wouldn't even put it past Ripple to make one or two more acquisitions, maybe, because we know that they've certainly invested. They're invested in a lot of projects where they own 40%. We know, but it'll be interesting to see if there's some more consolidation in the space where we have some more acquisitions. And again, the fire sale, it's you just, like you say, take it off of the heap, and all of a sudden you assemble it. But it would make a lot of sense for somebody like an FTX to do an acquisition of Robinhood. I think it would make really good sense. And FTX seems to be doing everything the right way. But we thought of that of a lot of projects. But a lot of times we don't know what's happening in the background. But it seems like Sam Bankman-Fried seems to be risk adverse. He's not one of these guys. Just on the little interviews we've seen him in, in his testimony before Congress, he seems to be pretty smart as far as business savvy and understanding exactly what's going on in the crypto space. But then there's some other things he says where it's like, what? And it's the same with David Schwartz. David Schwartz will be like, right on, but then he'll say something that'll throw us for a loop, and we'll be like, where did this come from? I think a lot of what David Schwartz does is he likes to have people think. He wants to stir the pot a little bit. He wants to put some bold statements out there, and he wants to chatter. He wants to hear the debate happening in the chat. So that's one thing that I kind of see David Schwartz doing from time to time, where he'll do that. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. When we start looking at, I like that. I like how he kind of engages people in the space. But I keep going back to what we're talking about. FTX. FTX started in 2019. It didn't launch in the U.S. until 2020. So we're talking about a company that's been around for 2 or 3 years. And Bankman, Bankman-Fried, it says here that he was working and trading ETFs since that was kind of his early career. Got into crypto in 2017. So he starts trading crypto in 2017, and then starts his own exchange in 2019. So
right.
what?
And then he owns everything in 2022.
Right.
2022.
And all of a sudden in 2022, he owns the whole market. So what was the connect? Did he actually, and this is the big question that we have, did he actually build this on his own? Is there, a big money play behind it? And I would like to know what that, answer is. The more I see of what's happening right now, the more I'm suspicious that there's big money, behind FTX.
Yeah, we'll have to dig
that we're not seeing.
We'll have to dig a little more into that, but
Yep.
This is off the FTX site. It says they offer, obviously Bitcoin, Litecoin, and others, with significantly more built-out feature base than any other major U.S. platform. Security, they have industry standard security, including custom-built hot and cold wallet solution, full external backing of all hot wallet funds, relationships with industry-leading custodians. Fiat, FTX.US combines industry-leading banking on-ramps, making depositing, withdrawing fiat a simple and quick experience. Furthermore, FTX.US has seamlessly integrated stablecoins with USD in order to aggregate liquidity and ease of use. And speaking of liquidity, that's the other part. They have a history of providing market-leading liquidity in only 3 short years, 2.5 years, with most liquid futures order books. Because of this, FTX has an industry-leading order books from day one. So that's cool. But again, I think that background helped him out a lot as well. And he attracted the right kind of talent, but that's always a positive there, Jeff. And I thought, moving right along here, here's let me see, where is this? I got this other story here.
Oh, yeah. Hey, did you see just real quick, did you see that the SEC is getting smacked down right now over, and we're seeing the EPA overreach, but how the Supreme Court is making a lot of, moves right now, but the latest looks like it could potentially be the SEC in terms of their environmental overreach and environmental requirements for companies. So is it, and so I'm looking at, some of the things that are going on here as it pertains to even the SEC against Ripple, and the whole, the way that they're trying to establish and write their own, not just write their own rules, but write their own laws and regulations to the SEC. And it looks like we're seeing a shift here to take that power away from them.
Well, what drives me crazy, so here in the U.S., a lot of what we see is, states, the way the founders set this this country up was to have states' rights. If you didn't like one state, you can move to another state, and it has a similar form of government where you have a House, a Senate, and instead of a president, you have a governor. Instead of a vice president, you have a lieutenant governor. So the way that it works is it's set up as its own government. Each state has its own constitution. And what the states have been finding out, especially over the last year and a half, Jeff, is they have a lot of power. They always have. But sometimes they'll have a bill, they'll pass it, they'll sign it, the governor will sign it, and it's already enshrined in the Constitution. So they put another layer on top of it, and it's just mind-boggling. And one of the things, the reason, Jeff, is because the whole when they get into the whole Roe v. Wade thing, the reason a lot of people are missing the whole legal reason is that the courts don't, the court interprets law, right? So you have the Supreme Court, you have the judicial branch, legislative branch. The legislative branch being Congress, they're the ones that pass the laws, right? And you have obviously the president signs the laws, and the judicial, which is the Supreme Court, and the entire court system interprets the law. So when they interpreted that law, rather than having case law, having a law, they made a judgment. What people don't understand is that all they did was saying, hey, there's nothing we can compare it to. There's no law in the books. We have no other choice but to kick this back to the states. The states have to be the ones to figure it out and decide. And in the 50 years since that was enacted back in the early 70s, that judgment came down. Not one Congress thought to actually codify it and put something into law and pass it through Congress and have a president sign it. So this is what people are missing. People are all getting caught up in all these other points. And this is what I love about this EPA thing. It's the same thing with the EPA. Congress cannot delegate authority. You can't say like, okay, I'll tell you what, EPA, you start making rules over here and then we'll just let you go. No, they don't make the rules. They don't make regulation the same way, because I'm also seeing some rules being set by the SEC, Jeff, that are coming through. The SEC can't do that because they only interpret and enforce law and protect investors. They do not make that, which had me thinking, Jeff, and I know you and I have talked about this, but the Howey test is not legislation. The Howey test came out of the Supreme Court on what constitutes a security. So when I see that EPA ruling, I also see that the Howey test is meaningless. If there's no law in the books for the SEC to interpret, then it doesn't matter what the court case was or the 4 prongs of a so-called Howey test that originated in the Supreme Court. That's just my thought on it. I don't see that holding really much weight. You could say it's precedence. You could, you always cite case law and saying, well, according to this case, what the outcome was, but it's based on existing laws on the books, not based on somebody's magic feeling about what constitutes a security. I don't know, Jeff, your thoughts on that?
No, I kind of agree with that, to this point. And Jim D is making a good statement. The SCOTUS ruling smacking down EPA as outside the Constitution is setting precedent to the rug pull. So what we're seeing right now through the Supreme Court is that they are pushing back finally, for the first time in a long time, saying, hey, you know what, this jurisdiction doesn't belong to government agency. And so that's what people, do, miss the boat on that, is that they think like in other, governments where the top get to dictate. We don't have a dictatorship, and the president doesn't get to, write the laws. They can have executive orders, but those can be nullified right away. He does have the last say when laws are sent to the desk to be signed off on, but the agencies don't have the authorities to write these laws. And so this is what we're starting to see, is when you allow agencies within government, which has been happening now, it's not something brand new. It's been happening for a very, very long time. And the agencies have now kind of spiraled out of control, and they think they have more power than they actually have. And people and government, Congress, have given them, or just based on being silent, that have allowed them to do crazy things. And so finally, we're starting to see that pullback. So you're 100% right. And then when it comes to this Howey test thing, it is precedent, and this is how they will then judge, okay, well, this is how this case outcome was. But it's interesting because Gary Gensler, of all the crazy things that he said, the one thing that he said that was 100% spot on is that if you want to regulate this, then it's up to you, Congress. You have the authority to write the laws. And he did state that, and we've seen that, in a couple of the interviews, and it is Congress. And Chip, you and I have said that over and over and over again, that it's Congress. It's Congress's responsibility to create the clarity necessary. You want to create some regulatory clarity. It's not through the SEC. And that's where I think, we kind of diverge from when we've seen some of the congressional representatives pushing back on the SEC, saying you need to provide the clarity. No, they're skirting their responsibilities because they're the ones at the end of the day responsible. Token Taxonomy Act, is a perfect representation of providing a little bit of clarity, Chip.
Yeah, and again, we talk about this because obviously, Jeff, you and I, we get into here on the chain to help everybody understand a little bit better, and based on our opinions. Again, they're just opinions of us, but everything's connected. Sometimes people think, well, that's something over there. I don't get involved in that. I don't get it, but it is all connected. I mean, the SEC and how government works and the way it's supposed to work. And you use the word pushback with the court and SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. I'm not sure it's pushback. I think really what it is that it's clarity the way it's supposed to be. And what do we just see happen in New York? We saw something pass last night. We're not going to get into it, but something in New York based on a recent ruling by the Supreme Court went ahead and passed a bill that completely is unconstitutional and violates the decision what was made in the Supreme Court. And the funny part about it is it's okay for a while. It'll buy you some time because they all know that that's not going to be heard next week, even this year. But at some point it will be challenged and there will be an opinion, and they know they're going to get smacked down, but then they buy themselves time. And we've seen this time and time again where they know 100% that it's not right, and then they do it anyway, and that happens. But I want to get to this story here. This Peersyst technology doing some big things. You and I talked about another achievement, but they put an announcement out yesterday. They're thrilled to announce that after a year of development with Gobernero Digital and Montero TIC, we launched the first national land registry on top of the XRPL for all Colombians. So the land registry in Colombia is built on the XRP ledger. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Yeah, that's an amazing start. I think we're definitely moving in a direction, and there's some other new technology that's rolling out through through the XRPL as well for those signatures. But for Colombia to do what they're doing, to see, well, at least to start seeing that kind of rollout, in Colombia. Not saying Colombia is embracing 100%, but to have the direction that we're seeing, many countries or some of these companies, moving in. We're seeing a departure from just traditional. It's all about the crypto. It's all about long-term, financial gain, to how can we now start implementing the technology for real practical use today, within multiple industries. So I think that's one perfect one. And we look at, whether it's the NFT space or the smart contracts, there's so much more to it than just a JPEG. And the smart contracts, so much more to it than just talking about it and saying, hey, Ethereum has, smart contracts, or what we see rolling out within Flare. And we start seeing all of this technology, but how do we move from talking about the technology to actually seeing it in real world? And I think that's one example of real world use.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of a long way to say that, but
yeah, it's a long way, but it's but it always comes back. It's all good here. And so what I'm trying to find here is that product that they just the same company. I'm trying to find it. XRP. It's called XRP Stamp.
That's really cool. And that's real world practical, and this is where, and I think, at least I know for you and I, because we've talked about a lot, what is attractive about the XRPL, what's attractive even about, Ripple, even though we have no, gain out of what Ripple does, but to see them building in this blockchain ecosystem and seeing what's possible utilizing the XRPL is, it's kind of like setting the foundation for many other companies out there. And we're starting to see that the XRP ledger is so powerful, in terms of what they initially started with, and to be able to continuously build on it and keep making it better, because you can't really forecast, 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, every element of it. And then you're going to have to be, able to change direction a little bit, or adapt direction a little bit, and add. And I think this is where we're seeing the stumbling block of Ethereum or Bitcoin, is that they can't make those subtle changes.
No,
right?
no,
I mean,
not at all.
it is what it is. It's fixed, and it has its purpose. Not to say again that it's bad that it's fixed, but the XRPL is so powerful. There's so much to it, and that's impressive.
And so I found this finally. So Peersyst, what we just talked about, and thanks to Crypto Eddie who tweeted something out about it yesterday. I was like, how did we miss this, Jeff? But we did. And so they said, hey, XRPL community, happy to share our latest product launch on the XRP ledger for data notarization. This is another big one. XRP Stamp is a free tool available on the XRPL. Hang on a second, Jeff. And it's mainnet and testnet to create blockchain certificates using the Zum wallet, IPFS, and RippleX Dev. And here it is right here. Here's the stamp.
I like it.
This right here, again, I mean, look at the ingenuity that's happening on the XRPL. Again, this is what happens when you have open source. And the XRPL, nobody controls it. Everyone's like, Ripple doesn't control it. Yeah, they created it, but it doesn't matter. It's open source and it's out there. And you've got these two major products by Peersyst Technologies, and this one here, get your stamp to certify the important, get it global, decentralized, above all, so you can basically verify a file. And this, I don't know that it's legal quite yet, but it will be. So it's decentralized. It's built in the XRP ledger, first quality tech and high performance, secure. Once files are verified and a certificate generated, all the information is secured. So I could see this for contracts, this data notarization to authorize that this indeed is the right contract that would be signed by, it's just phenomenal. This whole idea of building all of this on the XRPL.
Yeah.
And it works with the Zum wallet.
Yeah. And this is what's so impressive about this space, and looking for, again, real world utility. So imagine, it wasn't that long ago with DocuSign that DocuSign wasn't accepted as a legal signature. Right. It took a lot until the DocuSign, the e-sign, was considered a verified and legal way to sign documents. Right. That would hold up in court, I should say. And so I think we're going to start seeing, even like right now with the smart contracts and blockchain, although you can track the beginning stages of a contract through a smart contract, and you can see all the terms, you can see all of that. It's I believe it's still not legally binding, and so we're starting something like this with this stamp like this will then, once you can get the legal certification on that, I mean, this is just the beginning, and we're going to see so much more. And
decentralization, really, we're seeing the pushback on it, right? It's so funny that the central banks, I mean, I would even be a little more clever and not put central in the actual CBDC, centralized. I mean, the whole idea of central. We know everything's centralized, but they have, so the CBDC, it's not really crypto. It's not really utilize blockchain. One Rough Rican, what's up? Thank you for that super sticker, Rican in the house. Good to see that. But Jeff, there's a couple other stories we're going to get to here. And I'll just jump to it pretty quick. So you got some time coming here, but we got Ripple enters New Zealand via Airwallex's use of RippleNet utility. And so this is a partner of Ripple called Airwallex. They recently announced the launch of its international payment services in New Zealand. Through its new development, businesses in the country will gain access to Airwallex's global payment services, which serve as a perfect alternative to what, Jeff? Conventional banks. There it is again. So why is it good news? Because it's worth noting that Airwallex has been leveraging the utility embedded in RippleNet since joining Ripple's network of customers back in 2017. So again, there's all these little stories you can miss if you're not paying attention, Jeff. New Zealand. That's in New Zealand. Yeah, man, it's really good stuff.
And we remember this is a global, a global paradigm. So it's massive. It's not just happening here in the US. XRP rocks. Happy 4th, everybody. And post Happy Canada Day for those that were in Canada.
That's right.
July 1 was Canada Day, so and happy 4th because 4th of July, big things. So here, if you're in the States, great work, guys. XRP, are you saying we have a chance?
Are you saying there's a chance? There's a chance.
There's always a chance.
That's one of my favorite movies ever, man. It's such a great thing. And also big on the 4th is the launch of Flare. Now people think they're going to get their Flare tokens, but
that's right.
But you have to pay attention because they're actually not. You're not going to roll out for a little bit of time. And people are like, I see so much vitriol and bitterness on crypto Twitter, and I'm thinking to myself, guys, one of the biggest developments. I sometimes wonder if people really understand how big of an achievement Flare is. Flare is going to be doing things that has never been done before. The interoperability between chains, the also giving coins like Dogecoin an actual use case. I mean, it's so big. And I remember when they first announced it, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I saw a little bit of it and I said, uh-oh, this is going to be massive, Jeff. And sometimes people get like, well, where's my coin? Where's my airdrop? And well, yeah, you can do that. And there's the SGB and they're going to drop 15%. And this week we'll get into a little bit more of it. But Jeff, if you want to see some major FUD, this is kind of shocking because the blockchain, this happened over in the UK, but blockchain lacks meaningful use cases, tech journalists tell UK lawmakers. Okay, so why would you have tech journalists who don't even really understand the space advising lawmakers? Okay, why not have the people who actually participate in the space? You got a lot of great projects out of not only the UK, but all over the world. Blockchain technology provides security for things that don't need securing and are not a problem, according to David Gerard. And who is this David Gerard? I mean, why, Jeff? This whole thing is absolutely meaningless. Nothing beats human inspection. You know what this reminds me of, Jeff? It reminds me of the famous quote. It was in the late 1800s by the gentleman who was running the U.S. Patent Office. He said, we don't really need a patent office. Everything that's been invented has already been invented. We don't really need, there's no real reason to have any more.
That guy.
How'd it work out? Yeah, that was like, this is how many patents were back then. And there's like just miles of patents since then. But it's incredible, the lack of understanding. It's incredible. And we don't have to get into this whole FUD article, but I just thought it was interesting that if garbage goes in, garbage comes out. Okay, great. If you slip on a banana peel, you fall. It's like, so what? It's like a statement that means nothing, purporting that the quality of blockchain data is only as good as its source. Guess what? That's everything in life. This whole thing is just so preposterous. It's not even worth really talking about, Jeff. But I saw that and I thought to myself, what kind of zaniness is going on out there?
Gotta love it. Barbara Taylor, what's going on? Whatever happened to Tom Emmer? I know he's just one congressman, but I would have thought that it would have been the leader of the entire pack in Congress. Well, this will be his legacy. Now, we have to also consider that there hasn't been an appetite within Congress for a little while, but now there is an appetite within Congress, and we're going to start seeing, I would say, after, hang in there through the November elections, we're going to see a handover of power in both houses, and we're going to see some big change, a big change. I believe within crypto as well, because all the committees are going to change hands as well, and I think that we're going to start seeing some movement within crypto. Now the question is whether or not the movement that we see with crypto legislation is going to fall in line with exactly what we would like to see. And that's where you have to still stay very vigilant, just because you have, a Tom Emmer or a Warren Davidson or Darren Soto or someone that's very pro crypto or, Lummis. But then we also see a little bit of a, leaning towards Ethereum and Bitcoin. So we want to make sure that we don't see any kind of verbiage on Bitcoin or Ethereum finding its way into legislation, which so far we haven't seen that. But you still have to stay vigilant regardless, and you have to stay actively involved. But we're going to start. But I do believe, and Chip, what are your thoughts on that? Same, come post November when we
Yeah,
start seeing
well-
when we see a changeover.
Well, you and I sometimes we talk off camera, right? Since we're not doing on off the stream or the podcast, I should say. And it's funny. You and I made the prediction that nothing was going to change. Some of these landmark rulings, everyone was worried, and some people we know were like, "Oh no, you're giving the other side an opportunity to run on it." And you and I both said, "It's not going to matter." You want to know why? Because it was somebody who back famously said in the 1990s, it was the strategist for Bill Clinton who said, "It's the economy, stupid." You remember who said that, Jeff? Do you remember?
Who was it?
His name escapes me at the moment. I can't remember his name. I remember his face, but his name escapes me. But you could just Google it, and you'll see who it is. And but he said that, and he was absolutely spot on, because it always comes down to, you can say what you think about this and geopolitics and everything else, but at the end of the day, if what
that's
you
right.
bought,
That's why I blocked it out. It was James Carville.
Carville, yeah, Carville.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
That's what it is. See, if you look at him, you listen to him, he kind of talks a lot like this a little bit. And it was Carville that said that, and that's why I blocked it out. But he had a point there. It really comes down to it. If 6 months ago your $100 bought a lot of groceries or gasoline at the pump, and it buys half that today, I don't care what side of which government's in power or whatever. Bottom line is when you're suffering, not a good thing, and the suffering has to end. And that's what people care about. And check this out, Jeff. The total number of unique XRP addresses crossed 200,000. Hit a 2-year milestone as the number of unique addresses spikes. Despite achieving the milestone, XRP price continued to fall. XRP price now dropped below the 9 EMA line on the 4-hour chart. But I thought that was pretty incredible, though. 200,000, man.
That is, man, 200,000 address. That's interesting.
Look at this.
Really cool.
And we also saw this from Celsius put this up here this week. It was a blog post that they're focused on working on as quickly as possible to stabilize liquidity and operations, to be positioned to be able to share more information with the community. They're taking steps to preserve and protect assets and options available to them. And the relationship with the community and their clients has been a source of pride for all team members. So just kind of like, just say, look, hey, we're working on it. That was one of the...
if they pull this off the right way, they're going to be, heroes in the space. And I'm sure they're fighting tooth and nail trying to figure out a way, because if this goes negatively, it's going to disrupt the whole space. Any other company, similar to, is going to find extremely, extremely difficult, to come back. But if they can win this, they're winning for a long, period of time. It's going to be massive. And so I'm sure there's others that are behind it, and one of the statements that came out is that FTX looked and they said they had a $2 billion debt load or something. So that's why they weren't, jumping in. But I don't think that that's the case. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what's happening in the conversations and the backgrounds. I think, there's definitely, some issues, we're seeing that, and everybody's fighting very, very aggressively right now to see who's going to come up on top. And someone's going to step in because they want that. They want the customer base. They want the technology. They want something just like FTX. What was that? $250 million credit line. And then there's a buyout for BlockFi for $25 million.
I think it was the other way around. I think there was a $400 credit line extended with a $250 million based on triggers. I mean, basically, you're going to lend yourself money to be able to then acquire it at a later date. So I don't know. I think the bottom line is that Sam Bankman-Fried, one of the statements that I heard him in an audio clip, what he was saying that, in the past, what has happened here traditionally around the world is who gets bailed out? The elites. The banks get bailed out. Everybody gets bailed out. And he said, I think it's important to note that the end user doesn't suffer. So that was a total different change and a positive from what we've heard in the past.
Yeah.
Cryptogeddon.
I like that. I haven't seen that used anywhere
Way
else.
to go, Alchemist. You can always count on Alchemist to be blazing that trail
Cryptogeddon.
at the coining those for crypto get in. That's pretty much what it is. But you know
I
what,
like
Jeff?
it.
It's
We need
important
to
to
get a
know
shirt that says crypto get in. I like it.
crypto get in. Yeah, we'll have to put it on there. It's important to note that this crypto winter, crypto get in, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely not as bad as previous years. I mean, it's been a lot worse. The thing is, everybody is like, oh my God. And you know what? Again, people won't buy XRP now when it's like sitting around 31 cents. But you know when to buy it? When it's $1.89 and rising. Then I'll be like, I can't get in fast enough. Same with Bitcoin.
That's right. Yeah.
No one is interested in
happens,
purchasing Bitcoin right now, but as soon as it crosses 40,000, everybody's going to be
Everybody
all
wants
in.
it. No,
It's weird how that happens, Jeff. Look at this one.
There's
Go ahead.
we're up there. Coining 203. What is up,
Coining
Alex?
203 is here, Alex.
Good to see you on. And XRP rocks 5:30 a.m. Up, watching and texting.
In
Nice.
Seattle, that is awesome. Look at this. I saw this. Fatman at Fatman Terra. Hey, for the past few weeks, I've been investigating evidence and testimony from people involved in Terra's extensive shill network, as well as potential backroom promotion deals with YouTube influencer grifter NeuNer. Today, his legal team threatened me with a lawsuit. So he got this. He got this yesterday. It's like, dear sirs, we are the crypto band. We refer you to correspondence and blah 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 blah. Basically, giving him a enforcement letter. And he came back and said, I've been attempting to hear out his side of the story for the past few days in order to gain complete and accurate understanding. Rand denies everything, and he proclaims that Zach XBT's blockchain evidence-based thread proving Rand dumps on his followers is false as well. While a legal bully into the scale is scary, I have little money, no power, and I have much more formidable force standing behind me, the truth. I will post the thread anyway after my findings are complete, which will take a few days. I'll see you in court, I guess. So here's a guy that has like no money, no thing, but he's just like trying to fight for, hey, what's really going on and what's really happening? And what else do we see, Jeff? We saw Anonymous come out and say that they are also investigating behind the scenes as well. And they're going to, who knows what they're going to uncover and put out there. But
there's a lot. You see this? So this is all the stuff that we're starting to see. This is the pushback. The SEC rules against the ETF. Grayscale says, you know what? Forget that. So what does Grayscale do? They file a lawsuit against the SEC. How huge is that? Grayscale lawsuit against the U.S. SEC for nixing the digital assets proposal to create a spot ETF, Bitcoin ETF. Like I said, it will be decided within a year. That's what the CEO is saying. A lot of stuff happening when you have to file a lawsuit against the SEC to actually see some activity that could potentially be positive.
But this is what I like is everybody thinks that they're the almighty power, and you know what? They do lose often. They do lose often, especially when they're off jurisdiction. And I think they've got a really great case. And I think, you know what? Press them on it. You guys want to be the enforcers? I love the fact that they're fighting back. Now, what I don't like, Jeff, is when I see the Blockchain Association, everybody in Congress is outraged by this, but nobody was outraged when basically the SEC took on, Ripple's the name, but basically took on all of the projects and cryptocurrency blockchain projects and all of crypto. They weren't outraged by that, but they were outraged by the Grayscale being denied. And this right here is what's wrong. I saw Jake Cherninsky was going off about, oh, we're so outraged, and some Congress people, oh my God, I can't believe this, the SEC overreach. Meanwhile, the SEC overreach way, way far. And like we always say, if you had a great case, you want to be expediency, you want to get that over, you want to slam them to the ground, but they keep delaying, they want to redact. Oh, but one more thing, we can't have the testimony from the star, our star witness or, expert because, could be threatened. I mean, all this conjecture. And, that doesn't sound real strong to me. Like they've got a good case, Jeff. Sounds like they're on the run and they're just trying to delay everything. And look at this one. So this is something I haven't heard of before. It's a really unique use case. So over 200 Bored Ape Yacht Club owners signed up to squeeze some cash out of their NFTs by licensing them to brands. That's something that I hadn't even considered. But so if they want to use them to a brand to be able to, so more than, so on Wednesday, Blockchain Accelerator Mousebelt Labs launched a website called Bored Jobs. It aims to list all of the 10,000 NFTs of the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection with the goal of connecting their owners to companies that want to license the NFT for commercial. Now, we've seen this pretty big in the music industry, where the advertising wants to license a song for their commercial spot, their advert, and then they go and they license it, and every time that's played and they have something. This is a new kind of a twist. Now we're seeing a brand new use case for NFTs, which I think is fantastic. I mean, it really is pretty cool. What do you think, Jeff?
No, it is. It's interesting. The Bored Yacht Club. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't know why, but there was a movie that was just made about him, and he worked with the mafia up in New York, and then came down to Miami. John Travolta was the character, played the character down here, and came down to Miami and got into boating, and started. He's the one who founded the cigarette boat and all of that back in the early days, and he was doing all the races. But the founder of Bored Yacht Club, I think, is his grandson. There's some sort of a connection between all that. I was just trying to look it up. I can't remember the name of the movie or the guy.
If anybody knows in the chat, does anybody know in the chat? Who knows that in the chat?
Somebody must know in the chat.
And then, Jeff, again, Facebook, now called Meta, they've tried so many times to roll out their cryptocurrency. And Meta to shutter Novi crypto payments wallet in September, basically ending the entire Libra saga. 3 years into it.
What a disaster they were.
But they kept going with it. And, sometimes you can be so early in the space that you don't get the adoption you're looking for. And the fact that they're going so heavily into Meta, like they try to do with crypto, I don't know, Jeff. It just may spell some doom and disaster. And they say, we're going to lose money hand over fist. And we had Zuck come out and say that, well, brace for the layoffs, everybody, because they're coming. And we see that happening all over the place. You got these mass layoffs happening, and people are being really great talent and shuttered. But again, if you're losing money, you got to stop the bleeding. It's the only way you can do it, Jeff.
That's right. So that the Bored Yacht Club, so that the guy that owned the boats was connected to Mayor Lansky back in the heyday down in Miami. So this goes back a little ways.
How far was that? The 80s or is that 70s or?
I think that was like 70s. It must have been 70s when it started. I still can't find it.
Don't worry about it. We'll find it.
But it's a crazy connection. You kind of go through that, and
John Gotti. John Gotti. Is it John Gotti? No, it's not John Gotti.
Yeah, but the whole thing with Facebook and the Meta and the metaverse and all this, what a disaster.
Look at this. Very easy hydroponics. Alan says, one day soon, the greatest show on earth will be over, and a lot of us will profit handsomely. Some of us will make generational wealth. Yeah, and some of us that were called crazy, the nut jobs, the weirdos, right? Those people who, you're crazy going into crypto. What's wrong with you? It's not going to be around. People said that of the internet too, and I heard that early days of the internet. And any new technology that comes out, people are going to be a little bit naysayers and wondering exactly what's going to happen. But
so what do you think of this? So Alan's saying, I think Meta's is the long game. They've sold over 5 million headsets. They're going for the people that are going to be stuck at home getting UBI, Universal Basic Income. I think they're trying to make a play somehow. I don't know. I just don't get it. I think it's a mess. Facebook's they're reaching at this point. I think social media is struggling. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I mean, it's an interesting thought there, but I would just bring it back to this right here, Jeff. The thing with UBI, this universal basic income, it's right there. Margaret Thatcher once famously said the problem with socialism is you eventually run out of other people's money, right? So it's like, at some point, this whole UBI is a great thing, but guess what? The people that are working are paying for the people that aren't working. And, one of the things that people probably don't realize is that if you go back in time, like a little history lesson, there's the history lesson that was told to school children in the US about when the US was founded and the Mayflower first came over. Well, when they first came over here, Jeff, they ran it like a commune. Everyone's going to be equal. Everyone has the same amount of freedom, and everybody will support the cause. We'll get 100%. You're going to grow fruits and vegetables. You're going to raise livestock. You're going to do this. You're going to be the builder. And they all got equal plots of land, and everything was fine. Everything was equal. But then they discovered something pretty interesting. They discovered that 80% was coming from the 20%. And then, obviously not the exact dimension, or the percentage. But then they realized that, hey, at some points they had to totally abandon that because some people were sitting back doing nothing while the others were going ahead and hustlers and everything else. And they realized that, okay, yeah, you're given the same piece of land, but if you don't produce anything, you're not going to be able to barter. You're not going to be able to receive anything. It's not going to be distributed just for the heck of it, which is why the UBI does not make any sense whatsoever. Now, it could, Jeff, and it could if you had AI combined with robotics, and you could have, instead of you actually working there, but you had ownership in something, and you had some kind of a DAO in a factory where everybody was an owner of that, and then you participated in profits. But that's not universal basic income. That's people sharing. And that we have this with DAOs now. We have this with universal sharing. I think that decentralization will create something better than what everyone's calling universal basic income. That's a handout. What I'm talking about is something more along the lines of participation. You put up so much of a coin, everyone puts it up, you create something, and then that works and produces something. Because without producing, Jeff, like the government produces nothing. They're takers. They don't produce, they make anything.
That's right. Because in the end of the day, all you've got is hopium. Hopium is all you got. Those are
pretty much, Jeff.
Wise words from alchemists right there. Hopium is all you got.
Right there. Good morrow. Good morrow. Yeah, that's he's on the other side. So
finally somebody got it. Don Aronow. There you go.
Thank you, Kelly.
That's who I was talking about. Yes. Somehow there's a relationship. It wasn't the son, it was like the grandson, so there's a direct connection to the Bored Yacht Club.
The smartest people in the chat, Jeff. We don't have to know everything. We just have to say, hey, go ahead and let us know in the chat. Somebody will know. They'll check it out. They know it. They're listening in. That's why it's a participatory show, Jeff. And speaking of the show, we've gone a little long today, but I thought we covered a lot of topics and we got on a roll. We usually ended around 40 minutes. We're a little over that hour mark, but hey, we had a great time here. Good, fun show. I thank everybody for showing up. Thank you guys all for the super chats. It really helps the channel quite a bit. What else helps the channel, Jeff? Click that like, click that subscribe button, because that will then, people that watch other related content of XRP and other blockchain news will say, hey, what about these guys? And be like, I've never heard of these guys. Believe it or not, On the Chain is one of the biggest secrets in podcasts, on YouTube. Nobody knows about us, Jeff, because once we'll get comments like, hey, man, I never heard of you guys before. Wow, this is a pretty cool show. Possible? How is that possible? It's like, well, we're like unknown. We're creeping on right under 25,000 subscriptions.
And nobody wants to share us. That's the thing. They want us all for themselves. That's how it works.
And that's okay. And I understand that. But if the more you share it on social media, you go like, hey, check this show out. The more you get it out there in crypto Twitter, the more the show grows. And especially, gosh, it helps out a lot with the, we don't make it. They're like we got to pay for servers and smash the likes. Hans loaded. Smash. But that's it.
Tomorrow night, Chip.
Tomorrow night we'll be doing a special episode, Freedom episode on the 3rd, right before the 4th. Ooh. And it'll be fantastic right before the Flare launch. We'll probably get into a little bit more about Flare and what's coming up for that. So you don't want to miss this episode. It'll be really good stuff, Jeff.
Looking forward to it.
It's going to be awesome. Everybody, guys, Jeff, anything more? You got anything more to say?
That's it. Just give a quick shout out to everyone here. We have the best, the brightest, the smartest in all of crypto YouTube space. Appreciate all of you guys. Liz, Jim D, got some big supporters out there. Got XRP Rock, Susie, One Rough Rican. So
Rican.
Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate everybody here. You guys are awesome. and we will check you guys out
on the next one.
on the
Chip
next
and
one.
Jeff. Oh, see you guys.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.